The ghosts in my house have taken to talking. Just the other night, I woke with a strange feeling. Someone had been talking, and that's what woke me up. You've all had that experience. My mind was telling me that it was true. Someone had been talking to me. Alone at night, I can hear people whispering to each other. There is definitely more than one voice, which scares me, for it leads me to believe that there is more than one ghost. I'm Wiccan, and we Wiccans believe heavily in a spirit world, but we believe that the spirits are nothing to fear. But tell that to my friend. He has always been able to sense and see spirits, a gift he does not consider a gift. I don't think the boy has had a good night's sleep in a long time. One night, he was walking past my house when he saw a woman dressed in white standing on my front porch. He called out, thinking it might be my mom, or at least a relative. He almost ran when the woman turned to face him. She stared back at him with what he described as red eyes. As if that wasn't enough for him, he just had to tempt fate, and he walked past the front porch towards my back gate. He told me he looked in my backyard and saw at least 3 more ghosts wandering, with a 4th leaning against my pool. I heard someone frantically knocking at my back door. When I let him in, I saw a long scrape on his left arm. I asked him what happened, and all he could say was it was the lady on the front porch. I looked out and saw nothing there. By the time I came back to the kitchen, he had calmed down enough to tell me all that he saw. The ghost had also seemed to have a playful side, and I often see my kitten playing with them. You can see her chasing something that isn't there at least once a day. As soon as she gets under my bed, she will come out racing, butt tucked under, running away from whatever she was chasing. Now, I'm not Christian, nor do I believe in the Christian notions of God or Satan. I've tried several times to expel the spirits myself, but to no avail. It only seems to make them more active, but perhaps it's time for me to suck it up and call in a priest. As a wedding gift in November 1980, we received a house from my husband's parents. The house was located in Puerto Rico. It was a standard 3-bedroom cement house on about a 1/4 acre of land. The house had belonged to my husband's paternal grandmother. It was furnished with lovely antique furniture. The master bedroom was too small for our needs, so we doubled down the size of it and added on a master bathroom. Before I moved to the house, I knew that my husband's uncle had died in the backyard of the house. He had a major heart surgery and had been recuperating at home. According to my husband, he was very stubborn and bored from over a month of total bed rest. So when his sister, who was a nurse, left to do some shopping, he got out of bed and went into the backyard to do some gardening, which is where she found him dead about 3 hours later. He died of internal bleeding from the surgery. Since the house originally belonged to the grandmother and the uncle had died with no direct hire, the house had not been lived in for about 4 years until the estate was settled. We actually were the first people to live in the house after his death. I thought it was kind of a tragic story, but thought nothing of it. Part of the remodeling of the house was all new plumbing, and a new electrical system to accommodate all the new electrical stuff most modern households have. Among the things we changed were the light switches from the old-fashioned click kind to the new silent ones. We had been living in the house about 2 months when it happened. I woke up to the slam of the screen door in the kitchen. I looked at the digital clock, which read 11:30 p.m. At first I thought it might be a robber, but we had iron gates on all the windows and chains on the front iron gate door to the carport, which is where this person was coming in from. I was sure I would have heard something before this if it was a break-in, unless the person had a key. I thought maybe my father-in-law had an argument with his wife and came to sleep in our guest room. Anyway, this is what I heard. The screen door in the kitchen slammed shut. I heard the click of the light switch in the kitchen. I heard that switch click off, and then the hall switch click on. I heard footsteps down the hall into the original bathroom that was halfway down the hall to our bedroom. Then I heard the click of the bathroom light, and the water turned on in the sink. The person did not apparently bother to close the bathroom door. Then I heard the water turned off, and the bathroom light was clicked off, and footsteps towards our door, and a click, as the hall light was turned off. Here's where I realized this was not my father-in-law. When he turned off the hall light, I suddenly realized there was no light coming in under our bedroom door. I remember that our light switches didn't make the clicking sound anymore. The doorknob to our bedroom door turned the door open, and the click of the light being turned on, except the light didn't turn on. There was a full moon, so I could see clearly, and there was nothing to see. The footsteps went towards the original closet. The hanger started rattling. Then the footsteps came towards the bed, and he sat down on the edge of the bed. I saw the indentation on the bed, on my side. I heard shoes being taken care of. I heard him get up and put the shoes in the closet. He came back to the bed and sat down again. I saw the indentation in the mattress, and that was enough for me. Before this thing climbed into bed with me, I climbed over my husband to the other side of the bed and turned on the bedside lamp. This is when my husband woke up. He saw me standing next to him, with my eyes glued to the other side of the bed, where I clearly seen the indentation of a body lying on the bed next to him until I turned on the light. Then nothing. He said, "What's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost." I said, still staring at the other side of the bed, "I think your uncle just came home." At this time, he turned pale and jumped out of bed to stand next to me and said, "What do you mean?" I explained to him what I described above. At this point, we both decided that perhaps we had not picked the best location for the bed, and that it would be better off located against the wall of the new part of the bedroom. So, we dismantled our king-size bed and put it back together against the wall of the new part of the bedroom. Neither of us slept very well the rest of that night, even though nothing else happened that night. After that, occasionally, either he or I would hear the clicking and the footsteps, etc., but at least he didn't sit or lie down on our bed anymore. That is my ghost story. I guess it all started when I was in the 4th grade. We had bought a restaurant bar, and it sat on approximately 4 to 5 acres. The basement of this bar had rooms that were all different heights, and they had all dirt floors. I never felt very comfortable there. We had built a condo above the rest, and lived there until I was 16. One day, my cousin came over, and we were bored. We had no idea what to get into, so we decided to go dig in the basement to see if we could find anything interesting. The two of us each took a stick and started digging in opposite directions. All of a sudden, we heard this high-pitched woman scream. We looked at each other, didn't say a word, and took off running upstairs to the bar. We went up to our barmaid and asked if she had heard anything. She said no, but the TV turned off by itself. A few months went by, and the phone in the bar would just fly off the wall by itself. Then my father was down in the basement one day, and there was this one room he was trying to get into. He had to crawl in the dirt to get in, and once he was in there, he found a pair of shackles. The rumor is this rest was built where they used to have an underground railroad for slaves. A few years later, my dad decided to subdivide and build us a house on this property. He had done construction all of his life, so as they laid the foundation, they had to let it sit overnight. The next day, the foundation collapsed for no reason at all. No one had an explanation for it. They encountered many problems building the house. Once it was completed, I was 16, and we moved in. The first week in there, I would sit in my bedroom petrified to leave the room, because I would see a shadow peek around the corner, and no one else was home. One night, my ex-husband was in there, and he woke me up in the middle of the night to every appliance in the kitchen going off. The cabinets were opening and shutting, so we got up to see what exactly was happening, and as we turned the corner to walk in the kitchen, it stopped, and everything was in its place. My mom was on the other side of the house, and we would hear things in the middle of the night being picked up and thrown across the basement floor. But one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me was I was sleeping, and in my dream, I was looking out a front bay window, and I saw this smoke, and it was actually a spirit, and it jumped into my body. I saw my mother walk by, and tried to scream, and couldn't say anything. I tried to wake myself up from this dream, and couldn't. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, I woke up and called my mother. We had 2 separate phone numbers inside the house, and made her come sleep in my room because I was too scared. I had some other strange things happen, but these were the scariest. In 1955, my mother was basically forced by my doctor to take me to Puerto Rico to live for 1 year because of my poor health. He told my parents that if I passed one more winter in New York City, I would probably die. I went to live with my mother in Las Piedras, Puerto Rico, at my cousin's house Fining, not her real name. Generally, it was wonderful. It was the first year of my life that I could remember where I didn't get asthma. Finning was one of the nicest people you ever want to meet. Finning was in the process of converting her wooden house into a cement house, and due to this, did not yet have indoor plumbing, which meant she had an outhouse. This was my big problem, the outhouse. I hated the outhouse. It was smelly, full of bugs, and worst yet, had no electricity. As luck would have it, I got sick to my stomach and had dysentery, requiring many trips to the outhouse with an oil lamp in hand. It was late at night, everyone was asleep, and I was once again for what seemed 100th time back in the outhouse. Let me describe it. It was basically 9 sheets of tin, 2 on each side nailed onto wooden beams that made a frame, 1 piece of tin serving as a door on hinges with a slide lock, and a piece of tin also served as a roof, with a hole in the ground. Some cement blocks on top of a cement floor, approximately the height of a normal toilet, with a toilet seat on top. The light from the oil lamp was dim, leaving many corners in the outhouse dark. Being a child of 6, I could imagine spiders and water bugs and such, hiding in the dark corners, waiting for the light to go out so they could eat me. To say I was nervous was putting it mildly. I was being brave about it, and I refused to use a chamber pot like a baby. I got sick if I had to clean it, and I didn't want my mother to have to deal with the mess either, so I sat there listening to the all-night bugs. In a healthy tropical environment, there are lots of creepy crawlies, bugs, lizards, worms, frogs, and spiders. Suddenly, there was complete silence. My first thought was what in the world happened to the bugs. Then to my right, seemingly far away, I heard step dragging and the rattling of chains. I thought how weird. It sounded like someone is dragging something with chains on it, or that something is attached to, oh no, their leg. It's a convict. I'd seen a movie where these men were dressed in these black and white striped pajama things, and they had a ball and chain attached to their leg, so they couldn't run away. I remember thinking when I saw the movie that they must have been really evil men to deserve such horrible treatment. At this point, I decided it was time to scream for my mom, but I couldn't. I was frozen in place. I couldn't move anything, and my voice seemed to have disappeared as well. I kept screaming Mom, Mom in my mind, but my mouth didn't even open. As the convict got closer step drag, I was overcome with feelings of anguish and extreme terror. My body began to shake uncontrollably, and sweat poured down my body along with tears from my eyes. But I couldn't get my stupid body to move. The convict was now right outside the door of the outhouse, and I heard a soft sob. Then, another along with heavy labored breathing. The convict was crying, and apparently exhausted from the sound of his breathing. Then I felt a wave of overpowering sadness and despair. The convict kept going off, to my left step drag. The sound continued fading away to my left, until it seemed like he was very far away. Suddenly, all the normal night noises returned along with my ability to move, and best of all, scream. And scream I did, over and over again, until I heard my mother's voice outside the outhouse door. I opened the door and jumped into my mother's arms, hysterically crying. Mom, did you hear him? Did you see him? My mother was trying to calm me down. I didn't normally become hysterical over nothing. My mother said, see who? Hear who? The convict with the ball and chain. My mother said, who had a ball and chain? I said the convict. He was right over outside the outhouse, in our backyard. He was crying. Didn't you hear him? I neglected to mention that my screaming woke up the whole neighborhood, and everyone was crowding around my mother and me, trying to figure out who was trying to kill me, considering how distraught I was. When our next door neighbor hearing me said, oh, you heard our neighborhood ghost. What a privilege. I thought, privilege? Ghost. Did he say ghost? Is he crazy? I was scared enough when I thought I was a living, breathing human being. Never mind a ghost. I was definitely never going in this backyard again at night. Then he told me this story. When Puerto Rico was under the Spanish government, they built the railroad, but they didn't have enough laborers, so they used prisoners. They put balls and chains on them so they couldn't get away, and if they tried, they could easily track them down and shoot them as an example to the rest. Despite this, many tried to escape because it was either escape or die because of the harsh treatment they received. The people in the neighborhood, who had been privileged to see or hear him, believed this man did not know he was dead and was still trying to get home to his family. When he said this, I suddenly understood all the feelings I got. The sadness, despair, anguish, and overpowering terror were not really mine but his, and he had somehow communicated them to me. I think he must have finally found his way home, because no one has heard him in years. I just wanted to let you all know of an experience I had while staying in the Manager Hotel in San Antonio, Texas in July 2002. I was staying at the hotel for a courts reporters convention. I had just arrived at a hotel during a late afternoon. My friend came down to meet me in an area close to the parking garage. As we were about to enter the hotel lobby from a long hallway entrance, I saw a man approaching us coming from the opposite direction, so that he would have to pass by him face to face. He had caught my eye from a distance because of the way he was walking, almost unaware of his surroundings, but also walking as if he might have been a manager of some type. That is the feeling I got from his walk. I could see that he was a very tall man as he approached. He wore a dark suit and had red hair with spectacle glasses on and an old-fashioned curly mustache. As he approached, I became a little scared, but decided that as we passed each other, I would just look up into his eyes. When we passed each other, he did look at me, very slowly turning his head, and gave a slow nod and faint smile. I asked my friend who also saw him if he had gotten a weird feeling when she passed him, and she agreed that she had. I asked the front desk agent a little later, nonchalantly, if a costume party or reenactment of some sort had taken place that day in the area, and if they had a manager that fit the man's description. I received a resounding no to all my questions. I did not want to tell them that I thought I'd seen a ghost, as I knew that the hotel is known for sightings, but I was not going to acknowledge anything of the sort. My friend and I were staying on the historic side of the hotel. Our room was freezing for all the nights we spent at the hotel, and we could not adjust the temperature. I had bought a whisker basket of fruit and snacks for us to nibble on, and set it on the bureau in our room. Early in the morning, I was awoken by the sound of the whisker basket being moved or trying to be picked up. The sharp sound of the wicker weaving is what I heard. I would not look over at the basket. I did note that my friend was in bed asleep and could not have moved the basket. I remember exiting the hotel doors, which are plated with brass and are very heavy, and they started moving to open seconds before I put my hands on them, but I know they moved. Then, I came back to my room and took a shirt off and placed it on the doorknob of the bathroom. When I got back to the room and having gone swimming, my shirt had been moved to the edge of my bed, and we had already had maid service that day and did not require anything new from housekeeping, and my friend had not been back to the hotel room. Then, that night, I was on my way down to the lobby desk to find out about checkout time for the next day. I decided to take the stairs instead of the elevator. As I looked over the mezzanine to the other side, nobody was there. Then, in a matter of seconds, I looked again, and there was the same man I had seen the previous day, standing on the edge of the railing, immediately catching my eye with his stare and smile, and lifted his eyebrows up at me as if he was flirting. I remember feeling scared, and at the same time, disappointed, because I liked him better when I had passed him by in the hallway the previous day, and he had just given me a nod. It was the same person I'd seen the day before, with the same suit on and same glasses, and same mustache. So who was this mysterious figure in the hotel, and why did he want my attention so bad? I know it seemed like he was flirting with me, but I'm really not entirely sure. If anyone has any questions about this ordeal, please let me know. I'm very interested in the paranormal, and I want to know further about the situation. Well, I'm pretty sure I have an answer to that guy. In the last video. Not video, but, the last, you know what I mean. Anyway, I think that guy with the mustache must ask you a question, because that's what you do, right? Hey guys, it's Phantom here. Anyway, guys, no, thank you so much again for tuning in again. Not sure how this video turned out, so hopefully it turned out well, but I really love the stories in this one. You got your balls and your jail balls going with you, and you got, other people who like other people going on. You got the ghosties and the snowsties and all that shit. If you guys don't know and you're new to my channel, I never make sense in my outro, so for people who are new, and I know you guys are somewhat new, not all of you guys, but obviously the regular subscribers, you guys have been there forever, but you guys that are new, just know that I'm nonsensical, I never make any sense, and that's the way I like it. That's the way, I like it. Demonetization now, and my channel will be thrown away in the toilet immediately. Anyway, guys, no, thank you so much. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video across all the social media sites that you can, because, it's best to get out my word so we can get closer to 10K, and so I actually make more sense. Maybe by 10K I'll actually start making more sense, and I'll be more into a rhythm where I can actually talk to you guys effectively and communicate with all the best interest in my heart, like I continue to do, even though it's nonsensical this time. But when I sensitize, whatever that means, I just made up a word. If I make it to 10K, then I will personally feel like a man. You know why? Because I sit in front of a computer, just sitting on my ass for 5 to 8 hours a day, recording in complete isolation, and not even making any sense and slurring my words. Yeah, that's the life. That's the beauty of a narrator, guys. Phantom, go home. Just go home. Just stop talking. Nobody wants to hear from you ever again, except when you upload it again a few more times. But anyway, guys, good night, good morning. Not gonna edit any of this out, and I'll see you in the next video. By the way, collabs by Goodnight Goosebumps and Raven Lavina and all these other Uncultured Gamer, all these other people are coming soon. So this month is gonna be the collab month, which I don't normally do collabs, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Okay, I gotta go now. I'm making a fool of myself. Bye-bye. I also didn't say I love you, so I love you guys. Bye.